A Christmas dinner with an opposite-sex best friend attending. Isn't that supposed to be normal? But nothing about the way my husband said it felt normal. My best friend Lily will be joining us for Christmas dinner. Don't overthink it, Mark said, glancing at his phone as if my reaction didn't matter. He went on to explain that she had no family, that she'd recently gone through a breakup, and that he was simply trying to be kind. He said all the right things, but inside I felt uneasy. Something didn't add up. I'm Claire Monroe, 36 years old, and until that Christmas, I thought my life had finally reached a peaceful, beautiful chapter. I had just been promoted at North Shore Medical Center, where I had spent years building my career as an OB/GYN. Nights of exams, endless shifts, and holidays spent at the hospital had led to this moment. I imagined that Christmas Eve would be calm and joyful. Mark and I cooking together, his parents joining us, laughter echoing through the little kitchen we'd shared for years. It was meant to be simple, a gesture of thanks to the family who had always supported us. But that evening, as I chopped onions while the chicken broth simmered gently on the stove, Mark appeared in the doorway. "I invited Lily for Christmas Eve," he said casually. "Be mature about it." The knife in my hand froze mid-cut. "Lily? Your best friend from TikTok?" I asked, my voice tighter than I intended. Mark leaned against the doorframe, sighing as if I were being unreasonable. He painted the picture of a lonely girl, grieving her parents, heartbroken from a recent breakup, desperate for a friend during the holidays. He framed it as a kind, selfless gesture. "But why didn't you tell me earlier?" I asked, my chest tightening. He shrugged and said I was overreacting, that I was making their friendship awkward, that even his parents had agreed she should come. "They've liked Lily long before you," he added casually, as if that made everything fine. I nodded silently, pretending I was okay, but inside something twisted. A quiet, sharp certainty settled in. Something was wrong. As I washed the dishes later, the sound of water mingled with faint laughter from the living room. Mark's voice, playful and light, carried a warmth he hadn't shared with me in months. He was texting, laughing softly at the screen. From that moment on, the house felt different. I felt like a stranger in my own home, a visitor in a life I thought I knew. And in that instant, I realized this Christmas would not be the one I had been looking forward to. 2 nights later, at 11 p.m., I was finishing my shift at the hospital. The chaotic hum of the ER usually made me forget everything else, but that night, my mind drifted back to the Christmas dinner, to Mark and Lily, to the uneasy feeling I couldn't shake. Just as I was wrapping up the last patient's chart, the ER doors burst open. James, a mutual friend of Mark and Lily, rushed in, his face pale, supporting his wife who was clutching her lower abdomen, blood soaking his hands. My training took over immediately. I recognized the danger signs. She had a ruptured uterus, a rare and life-threatening complication, complicated further by a previous surgical scar. There was no time for hesitation. I called the surgical team, ordered the OR to be prepped within 3 minutes, and had the patient rushed in. The next 2 hours were a blur, controlled chaos, adrenaline, precise coordination. And when it was over, both mother and baby survived, but only just. James slumped on the bench, trembling, his hands shaking so badly he could barely hold his phone. He looked up at me, his eyes wide with disbelief. There's something you need to know," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Mark and Lily, they've crossed the line." My heart froze. What do you mean?" I asked, forcing my voice to stay steady. James hesitated, then spoke carefully. "Lily never actually broke up with anyone. She's engaged to Grayson, a major in the Army. Their wedding is planned for next June. Mark, he's been seeing her, hiding it all. A chill ran down my spine. Every excuse Mark had given me, her loneliness, her heartbreak, the story of needing comfort, shattered instantly. It became clear I had been cast in the exact role Mark wanted me to play, the understanding, sweet, unquestioning wife, blind to the reality happening right under my nose. And now, thanks to James, I finally knew the truth. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat quietly in the dark, replaying every conversation, every laugh, every touch I ignored or misinterpreted. My hands itched, needing to act, to uncover everything. I realized this Christmas wouldn't be about joy or celebration. It would be about confrontation, revelation, and reclaiming my life. The next morning, as Mark left for work, I pulled out my laptop and began searching for professional help, someone who could track digital footprints, confirm suspicions, and gather undeniable evidence. Within 48 hours, I contacted Lorraine Sanders, a private investigator with decades of experience in infidelity and financial deception. Lorraine didn't waste words. She listened as I explained the situation, then outlined a plan. 48 hours later, I had my first report. It was worse than I imagined. Mark and Lily's affair had been ongoing for 18 months. A secret apartment near Mark's office, luxury gifts, late-night visits, everything meticulously planned, everything hidden under a veil of lies. And the financial side? Mark had embezzled funds from his company, funneled money into this affair, buying designer bags, niche perfumes, even spa packages for Lily, all with joint accounts we shared. Every message, every transaction, every photograph I could collect became ammunition. I spent hours downloading, saving, categorizing everything. I was no longer the shocked, confused wife. I was someone preparing to face a betrayal so deep it had infiltrated every corner of my life. But one piece was still missing, a witness Mark never expected. Grayson, Lily's fiancé. I located him on social media, sent the first tentative messages along with select evidence, and waited. Minutes felt like hours. Then a reply. "I'll come to Seattle. Don't tell anyone." This wasn't just my betrayal to handle anymore. It was bigger than that. Two lives intertwined and threatened by the same traitors. That Christmas, I realized something crucial. I wasn't powerless. I had the evidence, the plan, and the resolution. And for the first time, I truly understood that truth was my only weapon. Christmas morning arrived, crisp and cold, but I moved through the house with a quiet, steady focus. I baked bread, simmered sauces, and set the table with the same care I always had. Yet this time, my heart was elsewhere. Every motion was deliberate, every detail a preparation for the revelation that would soon unfold. Around 9 a.m., Mark's parents arrived. They hugged me warmly, carrying the traditional tray of crumbly, sweet cookies that Marjorie, my mother-in-law, made every year. But their warm smiles didn't reach me. Soon, Marjorie turned to Mark and laughed loudly. "Claire always cooks so well, just like Lily used to." The words landed like a hammer. I froze. One simple sentence shattered the illusion I had held for so long. Lily hadn't just appeared in our lives recently. She had always been there, in their stories, in their comparisons, in the way they had remembered and spoken of her. Less than an hour later, the doorbell rang. Lily arrived, 20 minutes late, as if the household had been waiting for her. She wore a tight red dress, flawless makeup, a radiant smile that felt fake. My stomach twisted as I watched her rush to hug Mark, a hug far too intimate, far too familiar. The air shifted. The circle was drawn. Mark, Lily, and his parents. I was the outsider, a silent observer in my own home. Dinner began, but Mark didn't sit beside me. He placed himself between Lily and his father, as if I were invisible. Lily laughed at his jokes. His parents shared stories only she could relate to. Every glance, every touch, every subtle interaction confirmed my worst fears. Yet under the table, I had already planted the USB drive containing messages, photos, forensic reports, and everything I had gathered. As the honey-glazed ham steamed, filling the kitchen with warmth and sweet aroma, the doorbell rang again. My heart didn't race. I stepped forward calmly, hand on the doorknob, and opened it to reveal Grayson, Lily's fiancé, standing in full military uniform, shoulders squared, eyes sharp and steady. "Merry Christmas," I said, a faint smile on my lips. He nodded, silent, controlled, ready for what was about to unfold. The room froze. Mark's parents stiffened, their expressions caught between confusion and disbelief. Lily's face paled. She glanced at Mark, panic creeping into her eyes. I walked to the TV across from the dining table. "Since everyone is here, I think it's time." With a click, I played the USB's content on the screen. Messages between Mark and Lily lit up the room, texts full of intimate details, late-night calls, and instructions like, "Delete the hotel video from last week." Next, the investigators' footage played, Mark and Lily entering the secret apartment, his arm wrapped around her waist, their mouths nearly touching, oblivious to anyone watching. Lily broke down first, sobbing, hands covering her face. Mark stammered, trying to explain, trying to twist the narrative, but it was too late. Grayson, calm and unwavering, removed his engagement ring and placed it on the table with a metallic clink. "I'm not marrying someone like you," he said steadily, his voice carrying the finality of truth. Marjorie gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Richard, Mark's father, recoiled, whispering, "God, how long?" I didn't look at Lily. I looked at Mark. His panic was palpable, his carefully constructed lies collapsing before him. I placed the USB in front of him. "I emailed a copy to your company this morning," I said calmly. "No yelling, no pleading, just truth." Mark's face drained of color. His lips trembled. His eyes darted, searching for a savior that wasn't coming. For the first time, he realized everything he had tried to hide had been uncovered. Silence fell over the house, the only sound the tick of the wall clock. Lily bolted for the door, her heels clicking sharply on the hardwood, and in an instant, the room felt hollow. Grayson turned to me, firm and steady. "Thank you, doctor," he said, voice controlled but sincere. And in that moment, I understood something crucial. This Christmas, I was no longer the victim. I was the force exposing the truth, reclaiming control, and ensuring justice was finally seen. After Lily fled, the room fell into a heavy silence. Grayson didn't look at Mark or his parents, just at me. He extended his hand. "Thank you, doctor," he said firmly, controlled, acknowledging the fight I had endured to reach this moment. I nodded, speechless, not from emotion, but from understanding the gravity of what had just happened. Mark finally erupted, shouting, "You're cruel, Claire. Do you want to ruin my life that badly?" "No," I said, calmly, my voice steady. "I simply chose the truth. You destroyed your own life." Richard and Marjorie, Mark's parents, sat in stunned silence. For the first time, they didn't defend him, didn't call me overly sensitive. They couldn't. They had witnessed the undeniable proof of his betrayal. I declared firmly, "I want a divorce." The words landed like stones, final and irrevocable. No one protested. No one tried to stop me. I retrieved the small navy suitcase I had packed 2 nights earlier, neat, precise, prepared. I zipped it and walked out into the cold Seattle air. Snowflakes landed softly on my shoulders, light and freeing. I didn't look back. 3 days later, the city welcomed the new year under a sky full of fireworks. While celebrations lit the skyline, Mark's life began a different kind of winter. Within hours of receiving the USB, his company suspended him indefinitely. He was forced to repay embezzled funds, sell the secret apartment he had used to meet Lily, liquidate investments, and face public disgrace. Lily's world collapsed too. Within 2 weeks, her social media career was destroyed, brands dropped, contracts vanished, and she was forced to sell her possessions to cover debts. She disappeared from the public eye, rumors placing her in casinos, mascara smudged, life unraveling. Meanwhile, I focused on reclaiming my life. I moved into the house, now mine by court order. I hired painters, replaced carpets, and removed every trace of the past: perfume, belongings, memories. Each action was a declaration: this life, this home, now belonged to me. Penelope, my kind neighbor, brought me warm apple pie one afternoon, smiling. "You deserve a new life, Claire," she said. I looked around at the house, bright with sunlight, calm and peaceful. I smiled, a real, genuine smile. Christmas returned the following year, but it was mine to celebrate. I invited my parents, a few close colleagues, and Penelope. Laughter filled the room, mingling with the scent of pine, cinnamon, and fresh-baked bread. I raised my glass, steady and proud. Last Christmas, I had lost everything I thought I owned. This Christmas, I had reclaimed myself, free, strong, and unbroken. I opened a window, letting the crisp Seattle air brush my face, breathing in the scent of snow, pine, and a new beginning. From that moment on, my life was truly mine. And when Grayson went live on social media later that night, exposing Lily's betrayal to over 100,000 viewers, I felt a quiet satisfaction, not from revenge, but from truth and justice being finally seen. The story of betrayal, lies, and manipulation had ended. My journey of rebuilding, healing, and reclaiming my life had only just begun. I celebrated not just Christmas, but the resilience, strength, and clarity I had fought to achieve. And for the first time in years, I felt complete, unshackled, and at peace.